We have books that are as close as we can get, and we're trying to get even closer all the time.
So it does matter what translation then. You say probably word for word.
Sure.
Okay.
No, I'm with you. Okay. As far as being as accurate as possible to what was actually originally written, yes, it does matter what book you're using. But even in that original, it wasn't good. Like the things are still not good. So it's, as far as that part goes, I don't care, if that makes sense.
What about the role of tradition, if there is any? Because my concern with purely and exclusively scriptural authority is that it turns every man into an island, and it turns their own personal interpretation of the text into, orthodoxy for one. Does that make sense?
Does the Bible not say lean not to your own understanding, which is exactly what these 40,000 denominations of Christianity have done and claim the Holy Spirit told them? So the Bible is one big book of warnings against Christians, I swear. But yes, the Bible literally states that lean not to thy own understanding, which is what people do when it comes to their own personal interpretations.
It says lean not on your own understanding, but it says that as a warning against boastfulness, so that you cannot come to a conclusion and be like, yes, I am the only person that has ever thought this. I think it's
Which is literally what all Christians do.
Yeah, I mean, just the psyche of humans, I think, is so complex. I mean, when you say compassion, the definition of compassion can be so many things. I mean, people think that it's compassionate to let your baby cry it out. You know what I'm saying? And think these things are, those things are so subjective that I don't even think when you even beyond the interpretation of the text, the words themselves, the individual words are up to our individual prejudices and thought processes. I don't think two people will read compassion and think of the exact same thing in the grand scheme of things, even though we have a definition in a book for it.
So Parker says, how is it a warning about Christians? That makes no sense. It makes perfect sense. This is a Jewish book written about a Jewish man who was preaching to Jewish people the whole Christ part of Christian, right? It is a long form for Christos, which means anointed one. That wasn't his name. It was a title given to him long after the fact. So we're looking at a Jewish book about Jewish people, warning of the Pharisees and the heretics and the Antichrist to come. This book was a warning about Christians from the Jewish people. They knew that these people were coming because that area by that time was so heavily Romanized. They knew it was coming. So, yes, this book is literally a warning about Christians.
Yeah, and interesting enough, it's Hosea 11 and Matthew 2:15. They're kind of parallel texts. I think Matthew 2:15 says, beware the false shepherd. And that's a quote from Hosea, which is odd because the way that it's quoted almost suggests that Jesus himself is kind of winking at everybody, calling himself the false shepherd.
Again, Christos is a nickname that they gave him. It is just a title. The Antichrist is literally a misnomer, which actually is anti-Israel. It is anti-God. It is anti-Jew, not Antichrist. It's a misnomer. Because they knew eventually, someday, people were actually going to get to read this Bible. And they had to cover their asses. But it doesn't matter what you want to believe, this man was a Jew. Not a Roman. And Christos only means anointed one. Christianity had nothing to do with this book. The Christians own it now, yeah, sure, but this book had nothing to do with Christians. It had to do with Jews.
But Christianity in the modern vernacular means has taken the meaning a follower of Christ, and Christ himself preached to more than just the Jews. He preached to Jews and Greeks, and he used different parables with each so that they would understand. A big component of the New Testament is the application of Old Testament Mosaic law in communities that are not Jewish, right? Both in the writings of Jesus, in the sayings of Jesus and the writings of Paul, both groups seek to address, okay, well, how does a non-Jewish person interact with this religion, right? So I think it's disingenuous to say, oh, well, Jesus was a Jew, so his audience was only Jews.
It literally was. He was only preaching because he said two different occasions.
Yeah. Or he only came for the lost sheep. By the way, I need to correct something. It wasn't Hosea and Matthew. That was the other prophecy of out of Egypt I would bring my son, which is not the full prophecy, but it's an interesting one because they only took half of that verse. The one that I'm thinking of, I believe, is Matthew. Is it 7:15 where he's quoting, "Beware the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing"? Or is it? No, I can't. I'll have to look it up. It's like Ezekiel and Matthew are the two.
It is Matthew 7:15. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but in ferocious.
Is that the one with the parallel though that goes back to Ezekiel? I guess.
Where'd he go? Wait, who did right there?
He's still right there.
Yeah, but who did we lose? We just lost somebody.
Liza's dad. Good job.
Oh,
Thank you, Liza's dad. You've been a joy.
Yeah.
I just
There
came up
is-
because
this is-
my people were mentioned. Hi. I am Hanji Targaryen, a Greco-Egyptian woman from Laconia, Greece. You see this picture right here? This is Serapis Christos, the Anointed One, which was a Greco-Egyptian deity during the first Ptolemaic reign of Egypt when Ptolemy was in power. He was actually worshipped and banned due to the Roman invasion. Now, for you to sit there and say that Jesus, which didn't exist, by the way, spoiler alert, came and preached to my people, you are mistaken. Because as a matter of fact, even in your Bible, if you were to actually read your New Testament, which is in the Kioni language, which is my language, which we still use that alphabet to this day, he even referenced a Canaanite woman who was of the not only Greek bloodline, but the bloodline of the Canaanites, which is modern day Turkey, no less, and called her a dog because she was asking him to help her daughter with a demon possession. And if you actually read your book, you would know that he didn't even bother helping her, didn't even bother seeing the child until she referenced to herself as a dog. A dog was a Gentile. Guess what Gentiles are? People who are not Jewish. Your Jesus did not give a fuck about anyone other than the Jewish people, if he existed. But alas, he didn't. And if you look at this image right here, Nick, can you give Parker the chapter and verse, please, of the Canaanite woman?
Give me a second. Let me turn the light on. I'm sitting here like a bog troll in a dungeon.
Not a problem, my dear. But this image right here is where you get your image of Jesus from. This is Serapis Christos. This is a Greek-Egyptian man depiction from a mural that you can find in a temple to this day in Egypt that was literally one of his temples, which a lot of Egyptian people during the time didn't like because they felt that he was a new addition to a pantheon that wasn't needed.
And that's like from 323 BCE.
Oh yeah, he was worshipped for a very long time.
Ptolemaic period, yeah, of Egypt.
So I guess that is a question.
So the passage we're looking at is Matthew 15:21 through 28. It is the story of the Canaanite woman, and in this story, this is also where Jesus is quoted to say, I come for only the lost sheep of Israel. And then when Jesus sent his disciples on their mission, he told them specifically to stay away from the Gentiles and the Samaritans. Again, this is a Jewish man, a Jewish book, a Jewish religion that had nothing to do with a Christ or Christos. Christos was a title given to him much, much later. There were many Christos, many anointed ones. As Hanji put it, we have Serapis Christos. We have a letter from Emperor Hadrian to Servanus. And when he was trying to explain, who these Christians were, he said, yeah, these Christians are worshippers of Serapis Christos. They said it plainly. It's in history who these Christians were actually, the early Christians were actually worshiping. It was Serapis.
Sorry,
and then,
who was that letter from?
Emperor Hadrian to Servanus.
Yeah, that was actually after. So that was in CE. But that was a letter that was written, that was that's 115 CE or something.
Because they didn't really know who the Christians were. It was this little cult running around, right? Nobody actually knew who they were. But then Hadrian was like, oh, actually, I know exactly who they are. They're worshippers of Serapis.
Yep.
Like, the problem is there's so many church dogmatic lies built and built and built and built in this religion that nobody has bothered to ever go back to the actual starting point and go, okay, who were they worshiping? Even Pliny was like, I don't know what to do with these guys. Like,
the Serapion actually set the fire to Rome, so they actually started the fire.
How much of that is the religion in its early years solidifying its worship practices, though? Because, and I'm sorry, I don't have the source on it, but I've read before, there were accounts of early Christians who would, in the morning, give veneration to like Helios, and then that same morning go to Mass, right? So how much of that is early Christians figuring themselves out and solidifying their worship practices within a wider culture? Right?
The early original Christians were very much pagan.
Yes, very much.
They even practiced what they call in modern times witchcraft, but mostly amulet magic. They would wear shamanistic amulets to ward off evil and this and that. If we took Christians from right now and took them all the way back to the beginning point, those dudes are going to look at you like you're on some Colombian nose candy. They're not going to know what the hell you are or what the hell you're worshiping. Your rituals that you use today are not their rituals. They would have looked at you and what do you mean you once a month you drink of his blood and eat of his flesh? What are you doing? The Christianity you see today was not the Christianity of thousands of years ago. Not even remote.
How much do we prize what's the word for it? What's the word for being first in this case?
You weren't. That's the whole point.
Well,
Christianity was based off of...
Let me finish my question, please.
No, because I wanted to say Christianity is based off of Judaism. I mean, that's fine. You can be in your feelings. It's okay. Christianity is based off of Judaism. And Judaism is also a branch of Hellenism in the Greek culture until they revolted against us. When we tried to Hellenize them, which is why you have Hellenistic Jews. So it's not original to Christianity. And even the belief systems in pertaining to Christianity, as far as the stories, are of also older religions, such as the Sumerian, the Babylonian, the Greek, and the Egyptian texts. Now you can finish your point, Pumpkin.
So my question was, how much do we prize the original, more diasporic Christian communities as a means of how we conduct worship today versus the gradual buildup of doctrine that accumulated as the religion solidified itself, right? Because you get some denominations, you get like the primitive Baptists today who would say, oh, well, we need to build our church as Paul describes it in the New Testament. And you get like Roman Catholics who would be like, no, we have thousands of years of theologians being like, well, you know, this is what it is. This is what it is not. We stand on the shoulders of giants, right? Which one ought to be prized more in modern worship, right?
That's the question, right? I mean, honestly, was it because the Orthodoxy won out in like, you know, the third and fourth century, and then, you know, labeled everybody else as heretics and then just wiped them out pretty much? Does that make them more right?
Like,
I think that
Marcion, for example, he's literally one of the freaking church fathers, but because he was a Gnostic, he was outcasted. They still used his writings in the Bible, but they still tossed him out.
Isn't that funny? Evangelion was the like earliest, you know, known form of the New Testament, and that was Marcion,
who was a Gnostic who believed the Old Testament God was evil. Like, I mean, this is what I mean. Unfortunately, Christians aren't taught this stuff in church because you guys aren't taught the historicity. If you want the historicity, unfortunately, you have to spend thousands of dollars on university to get your PhD in theology. But that's where I run into this issue of dogmatic church babble bullshit that they've made up along the way. Nobody today knows.
So would you say, well, okay, here's my question then. Would you say that the first person to think of a concept is inherently the most correct about what they've thought?
What?
Would you say that the first person to think of someone or to think of something is, by virtue of being first, also the most correct?
That's a good question. And like when it comes to like the what our first thoughts of like what were a cell, I think like it was like Niels Bohr or something like that, said like, you know, the cell was just like plum pudding is I think the way they put it.
The plum pudding model?
Yeah. And you know, like that wasn't right. You know, then the model kept going on. You know, and the same goes for, you know, at first they thought that the Earth was, you know, the center of everything and that everything revolved around the Earth. You know, geocentrism. Well, obviously that wasn't correct, but they weren't like far off. So I get where you're saying that, but
if we're using that example, then Jesus Christ, is not an original to the Christians by using that logic.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I think that when you have a collective understanding and you know, kind of what's what I'm looking for, you know, a consensus of ideas and a collaboration, I think you'll find that the ideas are better. So when somebody just originally thinks of something, sure, it can be a great idea, but I think every idea has some room for improvement, you know?
But also, I would say that Jesus doesn't act in isolation. Jesus references the Old Testament frequently. He calls to the names of the Old Testament prophets in his preaching pretty often. And I think that's the point I'm trying to get at.
That just means Christianity. Sorry.
I think that Christianity benefits from having, you know, centuries of people who have, you know, dedicated themselves to it, thought deeply about it, transmitted their writings, all these things. I think that we benefit from the study of the religion. So I wouldn't necessarily say that whoever is first is most correct.
It's situational dependent, but if there was already a Christos being worshipped, that means Jesus is not the Christos. We would have to say he was one of them. Doesn't mean he was the. It means he was one of many.
Right. So, like,
Well, and I don't think that's, I mean, I can't speak for everyone necessarily, but I think that's pretty, I guess it's not common knowledge. In my circles, I should say, and to be fair, I watch a great many videos and I attend lectures and I read a great many books. So maybe I don't speak for the majority necessarily here, but I feel like it's pretty well known that around this time there were a fair number of people going around proclaiming themselves the Messiah. So I don't think it's necessarily inappropriate. I think it's inappropriate theologically, maybe, but I don't think it's historically inappropriate to say Jesus is a Christos instead of the, right?
Yeah, no, it is correct because he wasn't even the Messiah. I mean, if you look at the messianic prophecies, he didn't fulfill a single one. So, I mean, we have to look at that and then look at the title Christos and go, okay, well, we therefore have to say a Christos, not the Christos.
The case, we all should be worshiping Nero right now. Hail Nero. Nero Caesar. Long live Nero.
oh, hey, Hanji, I wanted to show you
That
something.
seems like a bit of a jump.
Nero was considered a Christos, so
He
there's
was
that.
anointed. At least
Well, yeah.
he was actually a king,
He was, and he resurrected. He had 20,000 witnesses of his soldiers.
I don't know if he was necessarily the House of David, though.
To be debated.
I bought this at the used bookstore, Hanji. It's the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Mythology. Actually, let's look and see what Serapis is in here.
Yes.
And I must say, and I don't mean to complain, I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining, I feel mightily alone up here.
Hey,
Wow.
I would like for anybody to come up and back you up. That's what I'm looking for here. And, this is a very interesting conversation just because it does still relate kind of back to this question here of like, what is a real Christian and what is a fake Christian? And so you're saying that more in line with the orthodoxy is kind of like a more refined, like it kind of started off a little messy and then it got more and more refined as time went on.
Yes, and I think even if you just want to go sola scriptura on that, the writings of Paul point to that. Most of Paul's letters are Paul being like, hey, you guys are doing this thing. Stop it, So there was, even among the early church fathers, there was a great deal of, not confusion. What's the word I'm looking for here?
Contradiction.
Sure. There was a great deal of,
Discourse.
Yeah, we'll go with discourse about what proper worship and doctrine ought to be. I think even Scripture backs that up, that in the early years, Christianity was still figuring itself out, as it were.
If Christianity is the ultimate of all religions, the true religion, then it wouldn't need to figure itself out. If the Bible is the breathed word of God, then it wouldn't have had to get figured out. People wouldn't have had to create all these councils and argue about these books day in and day out if it was truly breathed by God. That's the problem. If this was the one true God, if this was the one true Messiah, then there should be no argument amongst the church fathers. It should have just been known to them by God.
He is not
But
an author of confusion.
I think the understanding here, though, is that it's eternal absolutes perceived by limited beings, right? The idea is if God's truth is eternal, if God is eternal, all these things, then it's going to be difficult for a finite human being to comprehend them. I don't necessarily agree with the total incomprehensibility of God by man. I actually think that's kind of a frustrating cop-out argument. But I think it is something to consider, is that if you're dealing with eternal absolutes, you're going to be limited by your senses, right? You're going to be limited by what you are physically capable of understanding.
Well,
But he also said that
sorry,
he's
Liz.
not the author of confusion.
Yes.
He said he's not the author of confusion. Like, it should be straightforward and easy to understand. But and I think for some people it is. For the people who accept that what he wants you to do, what he wants you to believe are actually bad things, it's not difficult for us to understand that. But for the people who want to make it out to be, no, it's all loving, he's all powerful, it doesn't make sense, and they have to come up with these ways to bend over backwards to make it make sense. But if you listen to what he says, I am not the author of confusion. This is what he meant. He meant he's not good.
You said the word would be on the hearts of all men. Well, if it's on the hearts of all men, then why do men have to fight over what it really means?
That's a good.
I think that the word being on the hearts of all men points to inherent senses of morality and justice. Like, if you look at, but that's not necessarily an absolute. Well, can I have a second to work through this? I gotta.
While you're working through that, Nuke, if you would unmute, can I get your age, and are you a believer, and do you believe that this person is a real or fake Christian?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the panel. I'm 28, and I am actually just enjoying the conversation. I don't want to stir the pot, for lack of better terms.
Oh, by all means.
Pot.
I already did that
Sorry.
earlier, don't worry.
Flip it over. Watch the world burn. Go ahead.
Well, to answer your question, if
Sorry, my dog.
I'm sure many of that's hilarious.
Dog is going nuts right now. Like, where is it? Where is it?
He just got a new toy.
That's cute.
I'll mute up. Go on, guys.
I'm sure a lot of you here know more about me regarding, the Christian religion. But if based on the, what I know, because I grew up Catholic, I didn't grow up Christian, but whatnot. What she said nothing wrong. And if I had to define it, I would say that what she said was, I think she's representing of what I believe all Christians should be. And whoever finds, to me, I feel like if you feel offense to what she said, to who she said it to, then maybe you're not really a true believer of whoever it is that you claim to believe in. But then again, you guys made another point, which is like, well, like, is God good? Is God 100% good, all powerful? And I guess when you jump into those conversations, I guess, it becomes a little bit more tricky.
I feel, and let's stir this potion pot together, my Catholic brother in arms, because I come from an Orthodoxy country. My thing is, she's too loving. She's too loving for this book. She's too loving for this faith. Because if we actually read the texts, Yahweh is a piece of shit. His son is the shit that he pushed out. They are no different from each other, just different titles. They are racist. They are barbaric. They are sexist. They have rules and regulations for slavery, rape, and murdering of innocents. Schmurdering, sorry. So, in reality, this bishop right next to us would be stoned to unalivement. Why? Because she's a woman preaching the gospel, even though Paul the heretic, you guys shouldn't even be fucking listening to Paul because he's damn Gentile anyways. But also because She preaches what Yahweh is against. And that shows more of this belief system. You see, everyone, I'm going to say it like this. And I'm going to ruffle some feathers here. And you know what? Let me pluck them bitches out. The people who get offended and shocked when people say that they would unalive their kids if Yahweh told them to, the people who say that grape is okay if God told them to, they're acting just like their God. We're just seeing them for what they truly are. Those are the people who truly follow the word.
I would say that would be more to the letter of the book and the like of these sermons in the books of the Old Testament and New, minus maybe Paul. Paul kind of throws a whole wrench into everything.
And that's exactly what Liz was saying earlier too. I mean, no, she's not your Christian because she's too damn good. And that's why I followed up with she would make a hell of a pagan, though.
Yeah, she'd be on the field.
That's where we're
say
getting
something.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, I like what she was talking about, and I'm gonna sort of like visualize. I'm gonna just verbalize what I used to think growing up as a Catholic. So I like what you said because when I was growing up, that's something I thought about. I stepped away from the church and from that type of mindset because I found a lot of disappointment in church and everyone else that was supposedly preaching morality and love and peace, and I found more empty around those people than I did with people that didn't talk about that. So I stepped away, and what you said when you said they are preaching or they are acting on behalf of their God, that's something that crossed my mind because I remember as a kid thinking, are we praying to the same God? Are we praying to the same person? Because if I can have empathy, if I can have compassion, and they're justifying reasons to not have compassion and empathy, then maybe we're not praying to the same person. Maybe the person they're praying to is actually evil. It lacks compassion and it lacks empathy. And because of that thought, I cannot align with them,
I agree. And people are just like, how can you listen to this stuff all day? How can you not be surprised? How because they're showing you who they truly are. If we talk shit about them reading their book, but if you actually pay attention to the words on the page, they are literally a branch from Yahweh's tree. They're doing exactly what this God told them to do, told them how to act, taught them how to be. He created good and evil. He placed evil spirits on people. He made people confused and deceived. He made so many wars, all because his tiny pee-pee feelings were hurt that there were other deities in the cosmos outside of him. So we have to take all of those into account. And in reality, I'm happy I never grew up in this faith. Because when I tell you, I will take a stake, a burning, I'll fucking do it. Make a new witch trials. I volunteer as fucking tribute.
And it's really wild to consider most Christians don't even read the Old Testament because we're under the new covenant. Like, they say it doesn't pertain to them, but this is how they act.
Well, and I think it's funny too, because not only do they not practice what's in the Bible, they don't practice what's in the Constitution either. I mean, there's no separation of church and state, and I think what's also very interesting, sorry, it's a slight departure, but I have to ask this to everybody on the panel because I've been thinking about this. Okay, so we know that in order to have a tax exempt status as a church, one of the stipulations is you're not supposed to preach politics, right? So you can report a church by filling out a form and sending it to the IRS to basically tell the government that a church is preaching politics, right? So would it be Christian? Would it be Christian to report this fine lady to the IRS for preaching politics? And if so, are you a real conservative Christian if you do? Because to me, you're wielding the power of this government you hate so much, and you're forcing them to pay taxes that you think should not exist. But is it the right thing to do? When does the separation of church and state matter to you? When does the First Amendment truly matter to you? Because in this instance, that's absolutely what she is doing. Why is it, I mean, I don't know. I have to ask you that. It's not so much a question as it is a statement, but I think it's wild.
Well,
No, but it's true.
pretty soon we won't have to worry about the Constitution anymore because Trump promised he was going to wipe a lot of it out.
I want to stop and do a little commercial. You guys don't need to tap, but tap the heck out of the screen. Also, I'm looking for some Christians that are in the chat that are chirping and saying things that would say that she is a fake Christian. I want to know why. Why would she be leading people away from God? Where I feel like she's coming from a place of love, possibly. But, I do agree that if you go by just strictly like the, sermons and what's written in the Bible, she is like kind of going against that a little bit, especially in the Old Testament.
I do feel I should say, how do I phrase this, or how do I say this? Because I don't want this to sound like an excuse, because I know it's going to. I think it's unfortunate that I'm the one that's up here as the Christian representative, because I have never been especially good at apologetics.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some more people up here. I want some people who, if you think she is leading people away from the God or your God or the scripture, the light, join up, guest up. It's a little button on the bottom, in blue guy.
Parker, Benny is too nice a man. He's just a big old sweetheart. So I'm gonna say it in a more blunter way than Benny does. Stop your yapping and come on up. Come on, dude. You've been yapping for like an hour and a half, 2 hours now. Stop your yapping. Get up here. Have an actual conversation, my dude. You can do it. Push the button. I have faith in you. God has faith in you. Jesus has faith in you.
I sent you a guest request. I sent you a request. So, you don't even have to really think that hard about where to press. You just got to say, yes, I want to come up there.
But every time I hear push the button, I think of Rush Hour. Push the goddamn button.
A. Williamson, something that I wanted to let you know that, where it says God's, or it's written on our hearts. That's actually in reference to, have you ever heard of haruspicy or extispicy? It's EXTI and then spicy, basically. Extispicy or haruspicy or spicy. I don't know how to pronounce it. But basically what that is if you've never heard of it, it's a form of divination that was done in the ancient Near East. That was, it had to have been way before, even definitely before Christianity, way before, I would even say, Judaism, where literally
divination I know this.
Yeah, they would look at your
divination. I know what you're.
They would look at the organs of the sacrifices that they're making, and they would see letters or things, and that would be what they would use to determine whether or not they were, okay for God. And like, that's where that term written on your heart actually means physically like written on your heart. So a lot of people give it a spiritual, and I don't get me wrong. I kind of see it that way too.
Sorry.
But like that term does like come from, like this divination technique.
Is that, how do I say this? How would that play with things like the Lord's Supper and things like Cain and Abel's sacrifice? Because, and I don't, to be fair, I may be imposing meaning on why you're bringing that up.
I mentioned it earlier. I think it was something that you were like, you were gonna like look into, and it was just something that
someone had mentioned it, and then I was trying to work through how I interpreted it.
It was more or less just
as
a factoid that I wanted to throw in, just for everybody to walk away from this live saying, "Hey, I learned something."
So if it is taken as a divination technique, then how does that interact with the rest of Scripture, right? Because we take or we see, and unfortunately, I can't read Hebrew, and I barely know Greek. So I've only ever been able to use Scripture in translation. I guess is the important part of that statement. But how does that interact with things like hiding the word of the Lord within your heart, and things like the Lord's Supper, where he says, "Take and eat, this is my body, take and drink, this is my blood," where he uses physical aspects to confer spiritual blessing, right? I guess, is that inconsistent with other modes of worship that we see?
Well, in the earlier like Christian, like that's one thing that they were kind of judged upon was cannibalism. This idea of eating, even if it was bread, like it was still symbolic in a very like real sense to them. So they were kind of looked at as cannibals. I don't know if it was, I don't remember who, Justin Martyr or somebody wrote like, these Christians are like eating like each other, and it was all about the Eucharist and how that all works out, which really, if you ask me, that's all, copycatting from the Bacchanal, which is from
I was about to say that.
Dionysus and the Greek, it's definitely from the Hellenist period of Judaism. Now, for the other part, like the written on your heart, I would still say that is in reference to those, like they would say that because I'm guessing they had these like diagrams. They would have like artifacts, and they probably back then had like old livers and stuff that they would pass around to the kids and be like, "You see that? That's got a yod and a hey, a vod and a hey, that says Yahweh on it, like right there." Or it might say love, in Hebrew. Or actually it would be like Proto-Hebrew. So like the old Hebrew that was like stick figures. But yeah, interesting thing to think about. Hi.
Hello.
How old are you? And are you a believer? Are you a Christian? And
I am a Christian. I'm 18. Born in March 2008. 2006. Sorry. And I feel like so answering the topic question, she's a real Christian. But what she said, it's just not the time and place. She seemed like an activist. She.
Hey, hi. When did you graduate?
2 years ago.
You graduated at 16? What the heck?
I had a good. You can graduate early, and
well, yeah, I know. It's just
you can graduate at 16.
Cool.
So you're about to be 19.
I would
in March, yeah.
Okay.
I would say it was exactly the time and place it needed to be. you got a captive audience there, and he needed to hear it. So, this to the question, because I think this question came up like an hour ago. I've been in here for 2 hours, but to the question of separation of church and state, I think a legal basis that's legitimate, but I think that
I mean, listen,
on
what
a
she said,
personal,
I 100% agree with it. I mean, she seems like a very caring person, and the image she, comes off as is what Christians should be, in my opinion. But I mean, there's a time and place for everything, and that's just, you can't, that's political views, in my opinion. Like, her just telling him what to do, that's just not the time and place. Like, I get it. I agree with, I mean, again, everything she said was great, but I mean, there was a reason he wasn't happy about it after. It's just,
I think it's
you saw everyone's faces. I mean,
the time and place. I think it was exactly the time and place to show that from the very beginning, even the people in church, like, we do not agree with this, right? She was making a stance. She was making a statement for the people that needed somebody to stand up for them, and she was given that opportunity and that platform to do so.
I mean,
if he doesn't like it, then he should reevaluate himself.
Here's the thing, though.
I think the other thing,
I mean, it's not like it was a conversation. It's a one-way thing, and then she made him seem like a bad guy. Please have mercy on them and all that. You're projecting a bad image on him.
He is a bad guy.
That's your opinion.
It's not an opinion. Hold on. Wait. Time out. It is not an opinion, because do you want to know what he actually revoked today in his second day in office? He revoked racial discrimination in the workplace, gender discrimination in the workplace.
Well, ma'am, to be fair, there's only 2 genders, so I don't know what you mean by that.
You don't know what that. Okay, so let me tell you like this: someone can call you out your name and call you a derogative slur, and guess what? You can't do shit about it, because it's the company's right. See, I think you're too young to have this conversation, child.
I'm too young?
I would like to point out, if you read his executive order, it says that you should be addressed by the gender that you are when you are conceived.
At conception, which is insanity. That was an insane time to determine
gender you are.
Do you agree with what that says, Hi? That you should be the gender that you are when you're conceived.
You should be the gender that you are when you're conceived, as in born?
No, conceived.
Conception.
Conceived as in conceived.
Conceived as in like first gets pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So basically, if what you're saying is, as soon as that person is pregnant, the child.
I'd look this up before you answer this question.
Please don't. Please don't. I want to know. Please don't.
I'd look it up.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, hold on now. That's not good. You can't encourage someone to not look stuff up.
No, I want his answer because it proves the fucking point, A. Williams. Hi. Do you think that when you are conceived, whatever gender you are when you're conceived, is the gender that you should be throughout the rest of your life?
So when you're conceived, you mean like it's determined while you're still in the stomach?
Not in the stomach, in the womb, when the egg and the sperm come together, and you are still in mommy's belly, if that's how we need to say it, that gender that's created there.
How much genders do you think there are, man?
Can you answer my question?
If you can answer me, I'll answer
Maybe
you.
more. I think there's only one legally.
Can you answer the question, please, Hi?
If you're born with XY chromosomes, and
we didn't ask about when you're born.
It's how the laws spell out.
In the womb.
I'm gonna mute you because I need you to listen to my question. Listen to the whole thing, right? The reason I'm asking this is the executive order, the wording used in the executive order says that you should be the gender that you are when conceived, not when you're born, not, when you're 10, and when you are conceived, that is your gender.
Which is female.
And do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's female. You're a female. Hi, you're a woman.
How am I a woman?
Legally, that's how the law is
Because
written.
every single person, when they are conceived, if you were to look at it, they would be considered female. Every single person, when they are conceived, is a technical female. So, by that executive order, there is now only one gender.
Well, to be conceived means to be pregnant with, right? So yes, that would mean you're female, but
Okay, so now ma'am, I'm sorry. Please don't interrupt.
that's just so immature that like
Dude, you
Lady,
definitely should have looked these up.
It's not immature.
I mean,
It's legal.
it's common sense. You're born with two. I mean, you're either a male or a female. XY,
Hey, ma'am.
XX. If you
Ma'am.
Yeah, but
like you can't.
the problem is you're drawing the
You
distinction
guys
of birth
just you guys
and the
choose to be
language of the
different
law is
and
conception.
change the way
So
you
you're talking
use
about
I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a law-abiding citizen, ma'am. You have to.
Benny is a
we're
law-abiding
done
woman.
with sex ed, can I raise a point about another reason that Trump is a piece of shit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead, Seth.
I don't know if everyone saw the news alert, but it was like probably 20 minutes ago that the Trump administration canceled flights for immigrants that were already on their way to the U.S.
Would you look
illegal
at that?
or what?
Do that.
So
How's
what?
that working? How's that?
So
Illegal
what?
immigrants or what?
Say that again?
So you said immigrants, illegal or legal?
If they were flying to the U.S., I'm guessing it was legal.
Okay. And they canceled it for, I mean, it could be security reasons, right? Because, I mean, they can, I mean, it's a new administration. They could do things differently. So, yeah, it would make sense to cancel flights from a country that has millions of illegal immigrants coming into your country.
Oh, my God.
What's wrong with that?
So does this mean that
You don't even know what I'm talking about, and you're
Just like
saying...
they can't-
I wouldn't.
He
I wouldn't
doesn't.
just roll with this high. Like, a good girl would probably try and read the article, before you.
just a little bit. So hi, with that type of mindset, then you know what? I should talk to my Greek prime minister back home and tell them, you know what? I think we should stop people who are not of Greek descent or were born on Greek soil to come into the country.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
That's exactly what
I
Trump
would
is doing.
hesitate-
You're missing the fucking
I would
point.
hesitate to make an argument like that because there are people who would agree. So,
Listen, you don't know my people because my people are actually very loving. I was basically using an example.
the problem is the example you're using would be agreed upon by someone in chat. Someone in chat, who's going to be like, yeah, Trump should do that, is definitely going to also be like,
He's already doing it, which is why he is canceling the flights. Are we having the same? Are we even in the same panel right now?
So these are flights for refugees that were already okayed, to come.
I had not heard about this. This is insane. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's been 3 days and I'm already
just
so
came out,
sick
like-
of it, man.
So, I just got a question for you guys. Are you guys Democrats? Like, do you
I'm
support
sorry.
Kamala Harris?
I'm sorry, could you call
No.
us?
Well, I mean, I was,
women, because guys is we
I
don't
have a question for
recognize.
you. Do you support Kamala Harris?
You can call me a guy.
Did we get an age check on High?
Yeah.
We did.
did.
It's
It
in
was
my
sad,
bio. It really says
but-
18, but okay. Do you, Benny,
Like I could type whatever I want in my bio, bro. Like I don't. Oh, I'm sorry,
It's
ma'am.
really not that deep at the end.
I don't think
Benny,
he knows what conception is still.
Benny, do you support Kamala
Literally.
Harris? That's
Do I
asking you a
support
simple
Kamala
question. Do you
Harris
support
or did
Kamala
I
Harris?
vote for Kamala Harris?
Dude, I would
Support.
bow out of this before you.
I mean,
keep
even better.
saying
Did,
that.
I mean, if you don't want to answer that, it's
Of
fine. but
adults that are much older than you, I wouldn't start this argument, kiddo.
It's not an argument. I'm asking you a simple question. It's not
You're going to turn it into an argument is the problem.
I'm not.
I can see where you're taking this,
All right,
and I'm
so
telling you right now, it is better
so
if you
answer.
bow
I
out
mean,
now instead of
you
keep
voted-
digging this hole for yourself.
if
Okay?
you voted for Kamala Harris, I mean, you clearly think everything she does is right. So I just want to,
That's not how voting. That's how people who vote for Trump
you think she's the better
is the
candidate
problem.
at least
That's-
you
that's-
think she's the better candidate, right? So
That's not the same thing as thinking that everything she does is right.
I think that voting for
That's an
Kamala
absurd
Harris,
statement.
at the bare minimum, she's the better candidate, right? So
if Kamala Harris had
Yes.
won, if Kamala
Absolutely
Harris
the
had
better
won,
candidate.
I
Not
wouldn't
even
be
close.
worried and so exhausted by the
is
third day.
talking.
So let me ask you this: What do you think about Elon when he did that gesture, that Nazi sign? I'm gonna quote that because it's not really.
Nazi.
Can we not
There's
use that
Nazi.
word on here?
My bad. It's not.
I think the bone marrow should be removed from his shins
you
and
think
donated to people in need.
No, I agree with A. Williams on that. I think he should get the Mussolini treatment.
Okay, so the same thing should happen to Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, and Obama.
Bro,
Are you talking
video.
about the big
I have the video. I'll send you the video right now.
I've seen the videos. No, there's a stark difference. There's the fact that you're even like trying to use this as a talking point is just
it's different. I mean, Elon does it. It's
also absolutely different when Elon does it because Elon supported the far-right party in Germany.
Okay.
Famously.
context
Famously on
matters. Context
You're not-
matters.
Yes, it does. But when it comes to Elon and the Republican side,
Hi. Okay.
Go ahead, Nick.
Here's the thing. Thank you, my love. Here's the thing. Okay. You're going to be hard pressed to find any Hillary Clinton supporters here. Number one. Number two. Can you please tell me what am I supposed to Google where Kamala Harris did the Nasdaq sign?
I have 2 TikTok videos.
It's plastered all over Twitter. Like it's all. She's waving. They're all waving.
Okay.
But
So,
here's
dude,
where
you
I
saw
say
how she did it. Her
this is
arm-
what I
her palm
mean
was facing
by
down.
context matters high. Kamala Harris doesn't support the AFD. Kamala Harris doesn't have a platform that has been espousing Schnazi rhetoric and building up on the Schnazi, idea. I mean, Kamala Harris didn't take Nick Fuentes off the block list and put him back out into the public atmosphere. Now, Elon's actually like beefing with him, which is I don't even care. Kamala Harris doesn't support white supremacy. You know who does? The guy who said, "My heart goes out to you," as he Sieg hails.
So can I ask you this? So context. Hold on.
You're not going to win the context fight. I'm sorry, man. We've all seen the video. You're not winning. You're not going to win this.
Can we also talk about how Trump pardoned the Proud Boys that were arrested?
That's going to get reviewed. He said it'll get looked over, and mistakes happen. It's
already been done.
You don't know each and every single person, right?
Full siege of the White House is a mistake. What?
Okay, listen.
What?
So, Benny, you said context matters, but not when it comes to Elon, right? Because if you watch the Kamala one, her palm is face down. It's clearly a schmutzy gesture. You saw it.
He has never said anything that's in line with the rhetoric of the Socialist Party of however the Schnazi party of
All right.
post Weimar Germany. You know who has and does support the AfD, which is a far right neo schmazi group in Germany? Elon. And you know who put a lot of oomph in that slap and a lot of oomph in
Can I just say that even if what you're saying about Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton is true,
I've seen ones with AOC.
All you're doing is whataboutism, and
right, that's true.
You're just trying to redirect. So, at the beginning of the conversation, you said it yourself, what it was. So, is that what it was? Are you admitting that?
No,
And
because
I
if you
think
watch
we
the
need to
video with
look at,
context,
it's weird how when like Seth started talking, you just stop talking, but when I
I was
do,
listening to
you
him.
just
I
keep
mean,
going
what?
through.
Misogyny he was raised with, Liz.
Well, you know,
You can't do that.
he'll
Come
learn.
on.
He'll
Come
learn
on,
all
you can't
about
do
it now
that.
that he's
You can't do that.
now that
Adults are talking.
he's considered, you know, a female. He'll learn soon. Well, she'll learn soon because it's rougher,
It's hard.
Yeah,
Hi.
she needs to get it together. I agree.
literally.
Can I ask
As a
you a question?
lesbian, I have to say I'm so
Can I say
excited
my-
we have more women in the world.
Okay, mute up Liz first, and then A. Williamson.
I think when we talk about, you know, was it a salute or was it not? We have to look at the people who were there at the time and the people who are most affected by that. And if you look at Germans and you look at the Jewish community, both of them agree that's what it was. And I think that is the most important fucking point of this entire thing. If they also agree that that's exactly what the hell that was, then that's exactly what the hell that was.
Other concerning and interesting point, and I'm not the first to make it. I wasn't looking at chat when they said who did. You didn't deny it. You just immediately jumped to, well, these other people also did it. And if your question is, would I support Kamala Harris if she was a what's the TikTok word for it?
Nazi.
Okay. If the question is, would I support Kamala Harris? Would I support the other one, Hillary, if they were Nazis? The answer is no. And the treatment would be the same. You're getting a shotgun exorcism either way. You know, you didn't. It's concerning that you didn't deny it, and instead immediately were like, "Well, what about Kamala? She did the same thing." And it's like,
I did deny it, but okay.
But you've spent the majority of your time on here in this conversation anyway,
Right, because
saying, well, actually, they did it too. So, you know, either you denied it initially and then backtracked and went, well, actually, everybody else did it, or you didn't deny it and you skipped immediately to, well, everybody's doing it, so it must be fine.
I mean, if you want to talk about the Elon gesture, we can. His palm was facing up. Clearly, he was giving his heart out as
It was not facing up. His
You know how you give your heart out?
His palm was facing up.
This is how you give your heart out. You say, "Oh, thank you, thank you. My heart goes out to you, my heart." You know, everybody does it that way. It's always been done that way.
Also, lean back.
But I can actually end this argument.
Clap your chest and then salute at a 45-degree angle.
He was leaning.
You know what? Hold on, Hi. Hold on.
He's back because he's inept.
Let me say so. Hold on, Williams. Hi.
Put it down.
I dare you, Hi, to do that same gesture in Germany. Do it in Austria. As a matter of fact, do it at your local synagogue. Let me know how the crowd reacts. Please do it.
How did the crowd
Can we
react
go
to
to
Elon Musk?
Germany and do it? That
he
would be
did.
really fun.
So, can I ask you how the crowd reacted to Elon Musk when he did it? I mean,
Yeah, they cheered. They
Yeah,
cheered.
There's nothing wrong
They
with
were
it.
condemned
Did
by
you
their
see
actions.
that, Ruth?
They didn't boo him. They didn't boom off the stage. There's nothing
That's
wrong.
because it was a room full of white tea racist people. Of course, they're not gonna boo.
They liked it. That's what we're saying is that this is what's being spread.
Hold on. Let me search something up real quick because you said white people. I'm pretty sure the majority of black people voted for Trump. I'm gonna search that up real quick.
What?
Give me a
Not the
second.
majority. Come on.
That's also not the point. The point was who was in attendance at this particular rally and who cheered on Elon as he did the salute.
I mean,
So-
I'm not wrong. I'm
Even
pretty
on
sure
his
the majority of black people
inauguration,
voted
I
for
looked at my mom and because I was looking at everybody who was in attendance at the inauguration. I looked at my mom and I said, I haven't seen that many white people in one room since the Triple K meeting. Like, come on.
Hold on. Where was the inauguration again? I forgot. Where was it? In Washington, right?
Serious?
Is he
Is
for
that a
real
real
right
question
now?
No,
you just asked?
it's in Washington, but I just
Dude,
got
you
one.
need
Technically, it was
you
in the
need to know
rotunda.
these things before you come in here and discuss them.
Like
I'm
literally
sorry.
any
You-
kind of point you were ever going to try to make, like it's gone. Like you have no idea what in the fuck you're talking about, bro.
Okay, but there different places have different, what was I
Why are
gonna
you
say?
defending him?
Why am I defending him? Because I mean, it's so big now. Like everyone's talking about it and portraying him as a bad guy, but he's really not.
Hey,
I mean,
if there have been so many videos that have been put online of actual NAZIS, right? And they put them next to Elon, and they did the salute at the exact same time. It was the exact same salute.
What are the good things? You say he's not a bad person, so we have all this proof that he is, or she is a bad person. I'm really trying. I'm trying. It's really difficult to get.
I know
down.
it's hard to stick with the law.
It's really hard to follow the law. Even though God's law, it was supposed to be very easy for everybody to follow, but unfortunately, we're not there.
Oh yeah,
so
this was about a pastor, wasn't it?
could you? We can quote like a bunch of like bad things that these people have done. Can you quote like what are the good things, right? Because I would love to know what the opposite is. You know, we're saying we're seeing bad. You're saying he or she's a good person. Okay, cool. I'd like where?
you said she's a good person. She.
What
She
has
as in Elon.
yeah, she is an Elon. What has she
But
done
what happened
for
to following
anybody?
people's pronouns? I mean, I'm sorry. Don't you guys do that?
According to we already
I'm following
explained
the
this.
law. I'm following the law.
Can you bring me that ice cream, Seth?
You're following. Oh, okay, so all right. I'm not even gonna go into that with you. All right.
Or no, put it away.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm following the
you
law.
said what
Everybody
good
should
things?
be the gender that they are when they're conceived. So now there is only one gender. So, ma'am, if you could please tell me, what are the good things that Elon has done?
I actually
First of
know
all,
of a
let's
few.
just talk about how important he is to our economy. He's a multi-hundred-dollar billionaire,
Okay.
and he owns multiple,
You know how many like
successful, multiple.
And that's
Can I
a
talk?
good, and that's a
Successful
good
he's a
business.
welfare queen is what she is.
And of course,
literally,
we're
Benny,
operating with our
literally.
U.S. government. So, like, a lot of he's definitely helping economically. He's a very smart person. Let's talk about
can you please
SpaceX
not-
that
it's a
he's he's the founder of.
Hi.
Like,
He is.
Hi.
yeah, that's what you're
I have a
talking
question
about, Elon
for
Musk.
you. I have a question for you about Elon Musk. Is Elon Musk an intelligent person?
If you're talking about the same Elon Musk who owns SpaceX and Twitter, yeah, I mean X, yeah, he's pretty.
Why
smart.
then did he not have the wherewithal to not make a gesture that appears alarmingly similar to a
Can you say
to a
that
Nazi
again?
salute in front of hundreds of millions of people?
Can you say that again?
If Elon Musk is a smart individual,
What this guy?
Why
just
did
he
he-
stop breaking the law and just use the appropriate pronouns for her? Thank you. What does he mean by that? That's okay. All right, I'm just gonna ignore that. All right, so you said if he's so intelligent, why would he do that in front of everybody?
yes, literally that. This
Because he
dude
clearly
is a
didn't-
CEO. He's a
okay,
very
it's
public-facing
common sense.
individual.
Why would he do it?
He has had PR training out the wazoo, I'm sure. And he got up on that stage and made a salute that everybody is interpreting as a Nazi salute. And he has not been like, oh, that wasn't what it was. He's been radio silent on it as far as I know. And, like, he should be smarter than this. If
He was
he's
actually
smart
Let's be
reposting.
at all.
honest, this can go both ways. I mean,
He was reposting pictures of
It can't go both ways. I haven't gotten in front of
and
millions of
other
people and
people-
saluted the Nazi salute. So it doesn't go both
He did
ways.
it
I haven't done
No, it
this.
does though, because if your argument is why would he be that dumb enough to do it?
I have two things. We have to stop saying the N word like that. The N-A... Schnazi, please.
It's the N word.
I realized that after I said it. And you notice that then I corrected myself immediately, which is something that Elon should have done. So we're going to, use the word Schnazi or another word. But we're also...
Be real, man. There's no way that word doesn't just trigger the censors anyway. It's
I-
the same word with an
Yeah,
S in front of it.
I bet you you, but I would rather be safer than sorry.
We could say SS. Just say SS.
SS.
All right,
literally
so
SS won't trigger it?
So if I'm
But
answering
I also need us to stop talking over the host. He is allowing all of us to speak a lot,
Yep.
but this is, at the end of the day, Benny's platform, and when Benny starts talking, you stop.
I respect.
Turn off your damn notifications.
Yeah, what are you like 50 or like 60 plus? Who has their phone off of mute?
I don't know how to. This is a new phone. It's an Android. I don't know how to turn them off.
Benny, may I say something really quickly? Kate, you guys that are in the comments and other comment sections and videos, stop shrumping this up to he's socially awkward because of autism or being on the spectrum. We are not infants. Okay? We know what we're doing when we do actions. And we have to face the consequences of those actions, same as everyone else. We are not infants. And also by saying that, you're borderlining ableism. Stop it.
It does it gets a little concerning because it's like, you're kind of diminishing, people that are autistic or high functioning or whatever, it's just.
I'm on the spectrum. My kid is on the spectrum. Most of our friends are on the spectrum, and we would never in a billion years, no matter how hardcore we're stimming, do that. Not once, but twice.
Everybody has to know he did it because he's a troll. He did it because he wanted to do it. He wanted to see if he could get away with it.
Do y'all know the Scrub Lord's Prayer? It's a video game thing.
No.
But there's a variation of it that I've seen that I think is very interesting. And it's for this. It's step one, he didn't do what you thought he did. And and if he did do what you thought he did it on accident. And if it wasn't an accident, it was a joke. And it's like,
you didn't see what you just saw. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets to a point, where that just doesn't. He is on stage with the President of the United States, even if he's joking.
So
that's not a joke you make in the position that you're in.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
So what is he getting out of it then?
What is he getting out?
He's the richest man in the world. He's getting jollies out of it. He's getting away with doing these things. It's a power trip.
That's okay. That's not.
He got the self-satisfaction of a stadium full of people cheering him on as he threw out a salute.
That's not just affecting him. That's affecting his entire party. So why would he abolish his entire party over something like that?
Because he's not. Because they support him is the problem.
He's in line with it.
The problem is they're
going to defend him. They're going to say it was a Roman salute. They're going to say it was he was shooting his heart out to everybody. Kamala does it. And then they'll show weird pictures of her waving that is just like she was kind of doing it, but it definitely was not.
But I mean,
because they will do what you are doing and what you have been doing in this conversation for the last 30 minutes.
Can't you just say at the end of the day, it's just opinions and no one will actually really know? You will never be certain. The only way you can be certain is if he goes up there and says, hey, I clearly meant this, which he did. And that's the closest you'll get to being certain, because you can't just you can't say, oh, it's clearly a Nazi sign when there's all this evidence which proves it wasn't, and it's assuming. You're just assuming, and that's what everybody does. If you're a Democrat, you're just gonna automatically be biased and say that, yeah.
And so are you, right? If you say
I see how
you
you
want to
can
say that one way, then it's the same. I genuinely have a question though for people who are apologizing for what Elon did. How far does it go until you see what we're seeing? How many people are going to unalive until you see what we see? Because I'm sure that if we were back in those days where, the mustache man was here, during the first few hundred people that were unalived, how many people were saying, well, they were probably bad people anyway. They probably did bad things anyway, so it's fine. How many does it take? How much hurt does it take until you finally see what we've been saying?
That's the Neo SS works in the world of plausible deniability. I'm sure everybody on this panel has heard of the term a dog whistle. A dog whistle usually is not so blatant. Usually it's coded. They'll say like 88 to mean, HH or Heil mustache man. But then they'll always say like, well, you can't prove that exactly, like 88 could just mean, a code in police talk for all clear, and we have that in here in Omaha where I'm from. There's a place that has a lot of that coded stuff where they'll say like they have a dog named Panzer. They sell firearms. They like straight up have a like on their wall it says 1488, which is another coded thing. Like 14 is the 14 words of whatever, the sayings that they pledge, and then the 88 is HH. So yeah, Calvin, you got it there. When you straight up do the like salute, you're pushing dog whistle to another level. Like this is like a dog blowhorn at that point. And not to mention, if he had never supported the AFD, if he didn't unblock Nick Fuentes, a very well-known neo person, if he didn't, have this whole platform that's just been like pushing this type of rhetoric, then yeah, I would say, okay, maybe it was just an accidental thing. But at what point do the coincidences stop being coincidences?
When you have people who have a history with this cult mentality, this type of Yahtzee mentality, and they're calling it out, then maybe we should listen to the fucking people who have lived through it, who have been a part of it, who tried to keep it from ever happening again. The Austrians and the Germans made it extremely and perfectly clear. What he did was a Zeke male. Mm-hmm. And we need to call it out for what it is.
Hold on. I'm going to pause everybody just to get Vintage and Tora in here. Tora first. Have we met? I don't know if we've ever...
I'm not sure, but I'm mutuals with Nick and Hanji.
Okay. Then, yeah, you're cool. All right. And then Vintage, you're A-okay too. I know.
Yeah. How are you, Benny?
It's been a while.
on a while.
Yeah.
I know. I was going to come up while that other guy was up because, I was in the comments at first because I was eating and I was like, someone asked him about segregation, especially when Hanji was bringing up discrimination and discrimination laws. And I'll be honest, like I sat here today and cried. I cried today because I'm just like,
well,
like,
yeah, we had friends that we were live with Rabbi Bert, if you know who that is. He just found out it had happened, and then he watched the video, and it was like heartbreaking because he's very sensitive to that kind of stuff, just like always afraid, that especially in this political climate. And it just broke my heart when he had to like drop down because he was like, I think I'm going to be sick, Yeah. So,
but all of this is, but I mean, like, if we go back in history, and what I was telling Tora, I said it happened very slowly too, as well. Back into the 1930s, actually, a lot of this started after World War One, right? It was taking advantage of the issues. So if we go back to 2016 and the issues that we've had in our government, like you can literally compare 1930s and how even he campaigned in the 1930s, and then you go back and look at the way Orange Guy campaigned. It is so freaking similar, and I've had conversations with people. Someone in the comments on the video of this person, was like, "Stop bringing up 1930s Germany." I said, "No, it needs to be talked about." Because of that, it is very relevant to the day. And then now I think, didn't he just like fire a whole bunch of people in the government or something? Just like put them on paid leave now?
So even this talk about taking Canada and taking Greenland and renaming, not so much renaming the Gulf of Mexico, but that kind of talk, that was also something that Mustache Man was, there's a term for it. I can't think of it right now just because I'm tired. But, well, like annexing, but there's like an actual like German term that he used.
Wait, what were we asking about?
German. Oh, when Mustache Man was like taking and annexing land.
Lebensraum.
Lebensraum. Thank you. So yeah, I took a class on the SS. It was called like, that Germany. We read a book called The Rise of the Third Reich. And if you've ever seen that book, it's like this thick. It's wild. And yeah, it was a very slow process. It did move on from I would even say like the roots of it kind of go back to the late 1800s in Germany. But yeah, after World War I, there was a time of, just economic, just hardship. There was also a time of liberation that came between the two wars called Weimar Germany, which is spelled Weimer or MAR, Germany. And that's like, if you have ever watched the movie Cabaret, they're kind of showing what like Weimar Germany was a bunch of cabaret,
Welcome, bienvenue, welcome.
Yes. And in that movie, actually, you see the audience members that are at these nightclubs and stuff slowly go from nightclub patrons to like uniformed, like fascists.
The EMC, who is played by Floop.
Did you read in that class? There's a book called Ordinary Men, Reserve Police Battalion 101, and the Final Solution in Poland. It's by Christopher Browning.
I think I did read that book, but I'd be interested in getting it now. Wait, this looks really familiar, actually. Maybe I did read this book. It's been like over a decade, but
okay.
Yeah, I really like. Honestly, that class was. It's scary how much what's going on now parallels with then. Like, even things like talking about foreigners, like it's just wild. I've even seen it like in my neighborhood. Like, you can see people kind of like coming in. There's more stuff like being put on walls and vandalism, and like they're coming out of the cracks. It seems like.
I would love to hear. I would love to hear Tora's.
Yes,
what he has to say.
I agree.
Yeah,
my cranky Jewish behind was coming up here to yell at hi, but. Because I was literally in the comments, I was starting to see them. I'm like, I'm mad now. Can I request stuff? And I request stuff, just like automatically open, and he's gone, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, Seth had enough of them.
Oh, Seth dropped him. That's what happened.
He said the bad word one more time, and
yep, that'll do it. But I will say this: for homework,
What
Watch
pisses me
covering.
off is the fact that, like, you need to listen to the marginalized people that are saying this, and we're saying, a large majority of us are saying, that was a schmatzy salute. And the whole thing when they're like, oh, it was a Roman salute. No, it was not. There was no such thing as a Roman salute. And if you actually want to talk about the alleged Roman salute that was created by Mussolini, it's still a fascist salute.
Right.
Mussolini, he got what he
Thank
deserved.
you.
And these
Fuck
not
the Romans.
These Yazis need to have the same. They need the Mussolini treatment. Maybe we need to bring that back.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the other thing about the Roman salute that's funny is, like, there is famously, there's like the Roman point, and I don't know how to describe this to you because it uses art terms that I can't remember, but it's like one leg is placed behind the other, left leg behind the other, and then you point a palm down finger out, and it's in a lot of statues, and it's like, if you want to make a Roman salute argument, there's your argument for a contemporary source, and it's not the same thing. It's like...
Well, and they also called it there's the Bellamy salute or something like that, which is...
Yes.
The little kids did a salute like that to the American flag. But it's like, hey, after Mustache Man came and kind of ruined the salute, it's
a schmatzy salute.
You sleep with the goat one time, and then you're always known as the goat fucker,
That's how Beelzebub was created.
But anyways, guys, I think I'm going to be closing up shop here. I want to go watch Justin. This was a really good live. I really appreciate everybody that came in. Williams, I'm going to follow you. I enjoyed what you had to say.
I wouldn't do that. I don't post anything on here.
I just follow. I'm on team follow back or whatever.
Okay.
I just follow people. Anyways, I appreciate it. We might not agree, religiously on anything. I really did like what you had to say about the bishop here. I would agree that, like scripturally, I don't think she was a Christian, but if we like go by what people would like to like consider a Christian is, then yeah, she was a real one. Anyways, let's do some like last thoughts here. Vintage, you want to start us off?
Yeah. What? Hold on. Sorry, my dog's yelling at me. I honestly, okay. She wants last thoughts apparently. When I watched this, like I watched the whole thing with the bishop. I watched the whole thing with the bishop, and to be honest, like I mean, even though I'm not a believer myself, I thought she had a lot to say. I think she had a really good message. She had a really good message.
I agree with
my dog is going like he's doing that like head tilt thing where he's like
yeah, she's a husky, and I was eating pizza and now she's yelling at me. But I think she had a really good message and everything, and I think it was something important for people to listen to. But what really got me was the reaction of Trump and everyone in the crowd. Like I was just over here going, wait a minute. And then that's when I went back to, oh, wait a minute. Mustache Man also campaigned on religion, but also criticized religion at the same time. So when you sit here and you see Trump's reaction and you see everybody's reaction in general, it's just so much comparison to it, and I don't know, like, and the people criticizing her, like all the people in the comments that I, have been in conversations with were like, well, her message was way too woke. And I said, okay, so Jesus is too woke now? Like, I was like, we're in danger, girl.
Yeah, I feel you. Tora, did you have any thoughts? Last thoughts?
Yeah, I think, well, even though I'm a Jewish person, I think that she would have embodied what, if Jesus was around, what he would have taught. Like, she seems like someone, like, I'm not really interested in Christianity or anything like that, but I would probably sit through one of her speeches or sermons or whatever they're called.
Yeah, I would chill with her. She seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Give her a little
And
kiss on the
also,
forehead.
my last thought, that was a schmatzy salute. Anyone else saying otherwise needs a high five in the face with my spiked mace. Thank you.
I agree with that too, real quick. It was an absolute salute. Even the newscaster said, well, we're shocked by what he did. And you cannot convince anyone else. If you're literally sitting there you're literally gaslighting your own self because you don't want to see the truth for what it really is. Because then because of who you voted for, then that would put you into a fascist voting category.
Yeah,
and I think that's why people are denying it.
I'm willing to tell people hey, you voted for the guy, but you can regret it, guys. You can regret your vote.
Agreed. Also, I sent you guys, Benny and Vintage, I sent you both a follow.
Damn.
Yeah, and also I love this too. So now if you go out into this world and you give a bird to someone, it's out of context. If I give you a high five in the nose, don't take it personally. I'm just trying to love you in the nose.
It's a Roman point.
Hanji, thoughts?
I think we need to start making the French people proud and ask them if there's a certain tool that we can borrow. Make these racist, fascist scum piece of shits be afraid again. I feel that if I catch you doing this quote unquote Roman salute out in public, I'm going to give you the grand old Greek welcome. And you might either end up with a bloody nose or on a white t-shirt. Whatever happens, well, that depends on how much you piss me off and what type of mood I'm in. This goes to show also that if you voted for this fascist piece of shit, we are not friends. You voting for him, you voted against me for not only my gender, but my race, and completely oblivious to history. See, this is what happens when anti-intellectualism is a thing. History tends to repeat itself. We will not be friends. I will not support you unless you realize the error of your ways. If you realize I fucked up by voting for this individual, then maybe we could talk. But if you still high and mighty sit on this orange peel of a rotting living carcass and think that he is doing nothing wrong, then we got issues. I do not want to be around you because I promise you my hands will speak before my mouth does. Let's learn to live with each other for the ones that do see what's going on. Vive la résistance, vive la révolution. And let's go ahead and teach these fascists that it is not the 1%, it is the majority. And they should be afraid.
Thank you. William?
So first, I guess, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
And then I should say, and this is actually kind of how I want to leave it, is as often as I come up to bat for Christianity and as often as I have these discussions, I am a little worried that I'm not particularly great at it. So I guess I just say, first, don't let me be your only representative of Christianity. Obviously, go and do your own reading, go and do your own research. I hope I've gotten you, I hope I was informative. I hope I was helpful. But don't let your knowledge of Christianity begin and end with me.
Not gonna lie, you've been pretty agreeable for the most part. But I like having kind of the like a neutral party, or maybe like somebody that is, maybe a little left leaning but is a Christian, what I would call a real Christian, on the panel to maybe help out the other more shy Christians from coming up. So they can come up and defend their faith like they're actually commanded to.
Right. But I guess what I mean is the last thing I want to do is misrepresent Christianity when I get up here.
I don't think
so. If there are things that are objectionable or theologically questionable, Please consult other sources that are not me in a 2-hour podcast.
It's fine.
But I appreciate the opportunity. I do enjoy having these kinds of conversations.
It's been a good conversation. I honestly, I do appreciate what you've had to say, and honestly, that you've been the most Christian of any of the other Christians I've had up here. So, Nick, what's your thoughts?
I don't know what to tell you guys other than the fact that the Christians that are listening, once again, the Bible warned you about these people, but you don't read your Bible. Therefore, you voted for the monster. And this is you're going to have to live with this decision for, at the very least, the next 4 years. You voted for the devil, y'all, because you let hatred and judgment blind you.
I'm afraid he is going to start speaking out against about half the church.
I mean, if he
I'm
does,
kind of here for it, but I'm also like, I don't know.
if he starts speaking out against the church, I'm going to laugh because they made their bed and it's time they lay in it.
All right, guys.
Can I say one thing real quick, Benny?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
What Nick was pointing on, I saw this comment and they said the people that voted for Trump are no different than Judas. You traded silver for your own people for money. And I absolutely loved that, what they said. Yeah. Judas, pretty much. It was, and that right there was like, God, that's really true.
For the people who are confused of what I said, if you are a bigoted, racist, schnazi, mustache man sympathizer, yes, you should be afraid because you're going to fuck around with the wrong one. And guess what? Oh, look. Guys, I got a new t-shirt. It's white. Could you guess? So that's what I mean by you guys should be afraid. If you fit into that category, you are a part of the fascist regime. That regime fell once, and I promise you, the numbers are more now, that there are more people involved in anti-racism, anti-bigotry, anti-Semitism. I'm telling you, you're going to fuck around with the right one, and that's going to be a you and your family's problem.
That's when they'll find out.
Fuck around and find out. Those are my pronouns. Fuck around and find out. Hello.
I love you, Hanji.
I love you too, Benny.
Yeah. If for anybody else, please follow or something and stuff like that. And also, I have a link to our Deconstruction Junction Discord in my bio, Linktree, or you could just go to deconstructionjunction.net. It's an actual website, and there's a Discord invite in there. Hanji's there. Pretty much everybody that was in the panel, minus like A. Williamson. I think Vintage is in there. Tora, get in there. We're trying to do a thing. I was doing this live to start off maybe my own, I don't want to do this all the time, but I do like to have these types of discussions, and I want to run this question around some more with some Christians that would tell me that she's fake, and I want to know why. So with that all being said, check me out on YouTube, also Deconstruction Junction on there. It's not just going to be me. Haji will probably be on there. I need to talk to you about that. And a lot of other people. We're starting some big stuff here coming up because we got some people and we got some creators, and we don't want to all be on TikTok. Okay.
That's a fact.
That's it. Bye, guys.
Televisiva, yeah.
Oh, rate Justin for me. Give Justin and say.